All right, we're moving on to the last part of the notes, 1.2 part 2. In this section, we're going to be looking at how we use algebra to solve problems in geometry. So here it wants us to find the value of x and st if t is between s and u. We know that st is 7x, so I'm just going to write that here. And I also know that su, so this whole distance here, is 45. The other piece of information that it tells us up here is that tu is 5x minus 3. So hopefully what you can see is that if I take this section here and add it with this section here, I'm going to get the total distance of 45. So we're going to write and solve an equation. So 7x plus 5x minus 3 is equal to 45. Combine like terms here, so we're going to get 12x minus 3 is equal to 45. The next step would be to add 3 and add 3 on this side. I'm running out of room, so I'm going to write it up here. So I would get 12x is equal to 48. And lastly, my last step is just to divide both sides by 12, and we get x is equal to 4. So remember, in geometry, you always want to go back and just double check what the question was asking for. So in this case, they wanted x, but they also wanted the value of st. So st is this part right here. And it looks to be that that part right there is 7x. So st is going to be 7x, but then we're going to plug in our correct value of 4, and we will get 28. And then if it doesn't say any units, you can just put a u here. Sometimes it's not even that important that we do that, but that's just kind of the standard way of writing it. So the next one, press pause, see if you can just diagram first, and then we'll move forward. Okay, so check your work. I should have this diagram, something like this. It's going to be similar to the last one. We're going to write the mathematical sentence, 6n minus 10 plus 3n is going to equal 17. Combining our like terms here, we're going to get 9n minus 10 is equal to 17. And then solving our equation, we're going to add 10 to both sides. And we would then get 9n is equal to 27. Divide both sides by 9. And we get n is equal to 3. Now, big clue here in geometry, I always want to go back and make sure you've answered the question. So we found n, but that's not all they were asking. They were asking us to find wx. So wx, given by the equation up there, wx was 6n minus 10. So I would have to plug my 3 in there, 6 times 3 minus 10. Reduce that, you get 18 minus 10, which gives you a value of 8. So wx is equal to 8. And again, if there was no units given, you could just write units. A little more vocabulary. This one is a vocabulary term that we use quite a bit. It's called congruent segments. So take a minute, press pause, and go ahead and write this down, then we'll just talk about it. Okay, so congruent segments, congruent, is the same as exactly the same measure. It looks like an equal sign right here, but it has a squiggly on top, and it's called is congruent to. You're going to hear this word over and over and over in geometry. It's kind of like the equal sign, but in geometry. So congruent means the same or same measure, and it's very much similar to equals. So in a drawing, if you were to see in a textbook or a problem, math problems, if you have this little tick right here, that's what we call it, the actual word is tick, that denotes that the measures are the same. So you can tell from this one that 1.7 and 1.7 are the same. But in a drawing, if you didn't have measures, but you had these marks, you would know that it's congruent. So in this example, I don't really like this one. We're going to go on to the next one. So I want to know which segments are congruent. So congruent, again, means the same. So it looks like picnic and museums, they have the same height of 16. So they would be congruent to each other. And then the zoo and board games, those are both 14. So these are congruent to each other and these are congruent to each other. It just means that they have the same size or length. So ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of 1-2. You will have just one homework assignment with this one, and that will be due next week, so we can talk about that later. If you have any questions over the weekend or when you're at home, just message me in Schoology and I'll be glad to help. Thanks, bye.